Good afternoon, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon. I'm going to get right into it because my little one is home today, so I don't want to be long. I am talking about skincare products, how much you should be using. For those of you who are joining me live, thank you so much for joining me. Those of you who are watching the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Comment replay below so I know. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. So lately we've been talking about, skincare, basic skincare routines, the different types of products that can be included in them, some bonus steps, and so forth. So now I want to talk to you about how much you should be using during each step of your routine. And the first thing I want to tell you, and I feel like one of the more important things, is how much you're using and how imperative it is that you use the right amount of product. So when you use too much product, it leads to skin irritation. It can lead to breakouts. And I'm specifically thinking of, say, a moisturizer, you're using too much of it, or it has occlusive ingredients in it, and it's going to lead to clogged pores. So that means it's a heavy moisturizer. It has a lot of oil-based product in it or ingredients in it. Once you put too much of that on, you're going to clog the pores, especially if you're not cleansing the skin very well. Clogged pores lead to breakouts, blackheads, whiteheads, and so forth. Another thing that happens when you're using too much product is you're actually going to waste product. You're using too much, or you're going to go through your product too quickly. You're going to have to re-up. You're going to have to purchase more product. And we don't want to waste the money. We don't want to waste the product. So those are the biggest things. When you use too much, it leads to skin irritation, so sensitivity in the skin. It can lead to breakouts, and it leads to wasted product. Now, on the other spectrum, if you use too little product, it leads to your products aren't working, which makes you think, oh, I need to change. I need to adjust. I need to do a new brand. I need to use a different type of product or something like that. So using too much or too little both have its pitfalls. We want to find out what's the right amount of product to use for your skin type. So it's better to usually under apply than it is to over apply your products. Certain products need to actually gradually be introduced into the skin. And I'm thinking of specifically vitamin A. It can be a very strong product. So you don't want to start off using a ton of vitamin A every single day, twice a day. That would be a product that you use a small amount every other day. And as your skin gets used to it, then you can add in maybe a little bit more product or use it more frequently. So keeping that in mind, it's better to start off with a smaller amount of product and increase as you need to based on what your skin is doing. Hey, thank you for joining. So I'm going to break down each particular type of skincare product and a recommendation on how much you should use, and then I'll share some tips and tricks as we go through it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the cleanser. How much cleanser you use does depend on the type of product that you're using. For example, if you are an oily skin person, typically you're going to have a foaming cleanser or a cleanser that lathers up. You don't need a ton of that product. You want to use a very small amount, and specifically like a dime to a nickel size amount. You're going to work it into a good lather and you massage it into the skin. For someone who is dry skin, you're going to use a product that doesn't lather very much because you're not trying to remove too much oil or sebum from the skin. So your product, you might start with a nickel size amount of a cleanser. So a dime to nickel size amount of cleanser is what you're looking for in that step. For those of you who want to know, what is she looking at? Looking at my notes. See? Detailed notes. This is all the information I want to share to you. That way I'm not I'm not taking up too much time. I'm getting straight to the point, giving you all the highlights, letting you ask questions if you have them, so that we can go on and apply these lessons to our skin and our life right away. So that was the tip about your cleanser. Oh, this is actually another tip. For those of you who wear makeup, and I'm talking heavy makeup, or you just apply a lot of sunscreen, meaning like you're out in the sun, so you're reapplying several times in the day, one cleanse may not be enough. Some of you may need to do a double cleanse, and a double cleanse typically means your first cleanse is oil-based cleanser or micellar water or something like that. That's usually meant to help get the makeup off, the first layer of stuff that's on the skin. Then your second cleanse is with your cleanser, your soap. And I'm saying that very, very loosely because we're not just using soap on our face. We're using a specific facial cleanser. That second cleanse is going to come in and get everything out of the pores. That's going to be your deep cleanse. For example, when you come into the spa, we always double cleanse the skin. I'm going to cleanse your skin for a minimum of 2 to 4 minutes on each cleanse because I'm trying to deeply cleanse the skin, and it gives you a better cleanse than you would do at home. So that's another tip on the cleanser. Another step in the skincare routine is an exfoliant. Now, y'all, the way I'm giving you this order is not an order that you need to follow. I'm just listing out steps and my tips and my tricks and the recommended amounts. Okay, so exfoliant. There are 2 types of exfoliant. Now, I know we've talked about this already. Chemical exfoliant and physical exfoliant. If you're going to use a physical exfoliant, you want to look for something that has small grains like jojoba beads, something gentle, not St. Ives. St. Ives use crushed walnut shells, which can lead to micro tears in the skin. That leads to high sensitivity and irritation in the skin. So that just needs to put that out there. Chemical exfoliant is something with AHA, so alpha hydroxy acids, or BHAs, beta hydroxy acids. So that's your glycolic, your lactic, your tartaric, your malic acids. Those help slough, which means remove that first layer of dead, dry skin that's on the surface of the skin. It also really helps unclog the pores. So that's your chemical exfoliant versus your physical exfoliant, which is the texture in your product. Beads, typically jojoba beads. People do body scrubs with sugar, salt, coffee grinds, all of that. I do not recommend coffee, sugar, or salt in the face because it can be too rough and lead to, again, micro tears, which leads to sensitivity and irritation in the skin. But those are your differences between your chemical and your physical exfoliant. The amount of physical exfoliant you're going to use is about a dime size amount. Chemical exfoliants typically are already on a cotton pad, or you have to add it to a cotton pad. If you have to add a chemical exfoliant to a cotton pad, you just want to make sure it's moist. And then you're going to just rub it all over the face in circular motions. Follow the directions of the product. Typically, you're not rinsing off a chemical exfoliant. Typically, but you want to follow the instructions of that ingredient manufacturer. Physical exfoliant, you're going to wash that off the face, but you're using on average a dime size amount. Circular motions, you want to be gentle, especially if you're using a physical exfoliant. Be gentle, rinse it off, and proceed on through the rest of your routine. The next step I want to talk to you about are toners. Now, we've talked about the importance of toners, how they can benefit the skin, and so forth, but the difference is on the toners is whether you spray it directly on the face or if you put it on a cotton round and you rub it on the face. Either one works, whichever one is your preference. If you're going to spray, you want to be no more than about 3 inches from the face, and you want to spray about 2 or 3 times. And when you do it, you want to kind of move a little bit. So like maybe 1, 2, 3. And then you're going to rub it into the skin, or pat, not rub, because we're not trying to rub it off. We want to just apply it into the skin, gently, of course. Now, if you have it in a container and you rather pour it on a cotton round, or if you have a spray that you still want to put on a cotton round, you want to spray until your cotton round is moist. So about 4 to 6 sprays. Same thing, you're going to wipe it on the face. Let me give you a tip. Toners, if you're using a cotton round, when you rub it on the face, look at your cotton round. If your cotton round, if say you wear makeup, if your cotton round still looks like the color of your makeup, your face wasn't clean. You need to go back a step. If you don't wear makeup, and you do the cotton round and it's still a little tinged of dirt, your face wasn't clean. Go back a step. Your cleanser is meant to catch stuff that your cleanser didn't catch. It helps balance the pH of the skin. It helps control sebum. It helps lighten dark spots. Those are all things toners can do. But your toner should be applied to a clean face. So if you're wiping with your cotton round and your cotton round is dirty, you need to stop. And you need to go back and you need to cleanse again, or you need to look into whether or not your cleanser is actually working for you, which could go back to how much cleanser you're using. You might just not be using enough. These are all questions or tips that you definitely can talk with your esthetician about, and you should be talking. When you see your esthetician monthly, they should be following up. Hey, how does your skin feel? What are your concerns? And that way they can adjust or make recommendations on anything they do need to adjust. Okay, so that's my tips for toners. Serums. Serums typically are highly concentrated. The ingredients in it are much more potent. So this particular step or product, you do not need a lot of. In fact, you typically want to start with a pea-sized amount. And you shouldn't have to massage it into your skin for a very long time. You should use your fingertips. I'm talking literally your fingertips. Kind of pat it into the skin. Let it dry before you move on to the next step. Now, some people are trying to get through their routine relatively quickly, so I recommend a little handheld fan. They have them USB, so they're electronic. It dries, or you can take an old school paper fan and fan the face. Just make sure that your serum is applied into the skin and your skin has dried, not bone dry, but dried enough to where you can apply your next product. So that when you're applying your next product, you're not actually wiping off the serum. It's actually massaged and received into the skin. Okay, so let's see. High concentrated ingredients. Be careful not to use too much. Pea-sized amount, and you shouldn't have to massage too long. See, looking at my notes, making sure I'm giving y'all all the deets. Eye creams is the next step. Eye creams are similar to serums, typically highly potent, full of really great, powerful ingredients. You don't need a lot. This, again, would be a pea-sized amount. And with eye cream, you want to use your ring finger. Your ring finger tip, and you're actually going to pat into the under eye. You are patting. You are not pulling. You are not dragging. You are not rubbing. Under eye is an extremely sensitive area, and the more you tug on it, the very quickly it will sag. Very quickly it will wrinkle. That's why you're using this finger. For whatever reason, this finger does not apply much pressure. Your pointer finger, lots of pressure. Ring finger, very light pressure, and you're just tapping it into the under eye. Something else you should be mindful of. If you have, after you notice you've been using an eye cream or serum for a while, if you start noticing little white bumps that don't go away, that may be milia, and it actually is product trapped in the skin. So that's something to be mindful of, because if an eye product is not right for your skin, it's not going to be absorbed in, and it can lead to milia. Your esthetician can identify this for you and can help remove them, because it's not something you can do at home. So keep that in mind. Next step, moisturizer. You want to start with, on average, a dime size amount of a moisturizer, and you can work your way up to a nickel size amount. But that depends on the skin type. Typically, for my oily to acneic skin type people, I recommend you stick with the dime size amount, because we're not trying to add too much in. But as an oily skin person, you should be moisturizing. As a rule, every time you cleanse the face, you must moisturize the face, because as you cleanse, you are removing some oil from the skin, and we don't want to strip all the oil. Because once you remove all the oil from the skin, you're telling your body, I'm dry, produce more oil. And for an oily person, acneic person, this is the worst thing they want to do. So everybody should be moisturizing. But oily skin folks, stick to about a dime size amount. For my drier skin folks, you can work your way up to a nickel size amount. Now, over the course of time, you begin to learn what's the right amount for you. So start small, work your way up. Let's see. The next step, mask. This depends on what kind of mask you're using. Some people like to use a dry mask, so it's dry ingredients and they mix in some sort of liquid, whether it be a yogurt, a milk, water, distilled water, rose water, whatever the case may be. I'm not making any recommendations one over the other. These are just things I know people do. Baking soda is not a mask. Sorry, I must say that. Okay, I'm not going to go off on a tangent. If you're doing a dry mask and you're mixing it with the liquid, you want to start with about a dime size amount. For those who have a mask that's already prepared, so it's a hydrated mask, you want to use maybe up to a quarter size amount, because you're wanting to cover the entire face, the face and the neck. Typically, you want to do a thin layer. Again, not too much product, because too much product can lead to sensitivity, irritation, breakouts, and of course, wasted product. So that's what we're going to do for a mask. Follow the instructions of the manufacturer with the mask if you have a dry one that you're mixing with the liquid. They typically give you recommendations on what you can mix it with. Next thing, sunscreen. Highly important. You should be applying it every single day, no matter what the weather is. Sunny, cloudy, snowy, rainy, every single day, because UV rays still pass through the clouds. UV rays still pass through the rain. UV rays bounce off of the snow. And that is what leads, and let me break down UV rays. Ultraviolet, A rays and B rays. B rays are what burn the skin. So we want to make sure we're protecting the skin so we don't prematurely wrinkle, prematurely age, and we don't make dark spots worse. So sunscreen every single day, regardless of the weather. And the amount you want to use, you want to take your pinky finger. You're going to fill this one and potentially fill this spot too. You want to cover your face, your neck, and your décolleté. Your décolleté is going to be your chest area. A lot of people use this area when they are in the shower, but this is actually a part of your face. We want to cleanse and protect this area as well, especially with your sunscreen. You can look at pictures of women from the 60s and the 70s. Sometimes they would put sunscreen on their face, but they would overlook this area. So then when they were older, this area was very wrinkly, very discolored, very dark, but their face may not be. So we want to protect this face just as much as we want to protect this space. So that's it for your sunscreen, your pinky finger. Remember, sunscreen should be reapplied, especially if you're actively out in the sun doing activities, working out, or swimming. On average, every 2 hours. That's how often you want to reapply your sunscreen. So, I know I kind of went through that pretty quickly, but I told y'all why I was going through it pretty quickly. Do y'all have any questions for me at the moment? I talked about how much product you should use for your cleanser, your exfoliant, your toner, your serum, your eye creams, and your moisturizers, masks, and sunscreens. So I'm looking over here and here, and so far I don't have any questions, okay? But those of you who are watching the replay, if you do have questions, drop them down in the comments. I will come back and answer them. I or someone on my team, which would be an esthetician, to come back and answer those questions for you. I want to invite you all to join me back on Friday. That is January 20th. We are going to talk about the proper order of your skincare products and how to layer them. How you layer them actually makes a difference. So just join me at 12 noon and we'll get into that. But all the different products that I've talked about today, I do have through my own brand, J Feels Co. I do work with some other lines. You can see all of the products that we work with on YourSkinGoals.com. But if you're curious to know which product you should be using, you can book a consultation. We do them virtually and in person. I would be super ecstatic to help you, it doesn't matter where you're located, to find a skincare routine with the right products for your skin type so that you can reach your skin goals. Thank y'all so much for joining me. I hope you all enjoy your Wednesday. Bye.